How's it going, everybody? This is Jonny Vegas Namer here with Ministry of Lacrosse, and thank you guys for tuning in to my YouTube channel. My guest today is Randy Fraser, and he is working with the Arena Lacrosse League. Randy, why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing with the Arena Lacrosse League and how you got involved?
Okay, yeah, I'm the director of the junior program and youth development. I got involved. I was really just kind of a fan of it, keeping an eye on it through Facebook, and of course, just kind of interested in box lacrosse in the States. And my friend Chris Panos signed on with those guys, and I was talking to Chris about it, and then I hooked up with Paul St. John, and we were talking, and I've recently got out of the lacrosse designing. I was the product designer for Gate Lacrosse, and I recently left them, and I was available. So I came on, talk to Paul about the company and their mission and goals and what they had. Oh,
What happened? Oh, you got the sound on the YouTube.
oh.
No worries, it happened to me too. So, hey, everybody, don't worry. We're watching the chat on our the YouTube link, and so the sound came in there. So yeah, Randy, feel free to go ahead, finish what you were saying.
Oh, so then when I was available and talking to Paul about it, and just really psyched about the opportunity, and they had some position available, and we were able to come to agreement, and I'm happy to be on board with those guys.
Yeah, and now how did you get started in lacrosse and also box lacrosse? How old were you, and what drew you to the sport and box lacrosse too?
Well, I had a lot of lacrosse in my family. I grew up on Long Island, and my dad is a Hall of Fame player. His name is Ron Fraser. He went to Syracuse, and so I had a lacrosse stick in my hands at an early age. But I was a baseball player. I was from Suffolk County, Connecticut High School, and we didn't have a lacrosse team. I actually was the first grade to have a team. When I was in ninth grade, the school district added the lacrosse team. So I was a baseball player up until then. And then I started going to my first camp. My first real exposure to real lacrosse was at Rutgers Lacrosse Camp. It was an awesome camp back in the day with like 500 kids at the camp. Fell in love with it, and then started playing lacrosse full time.
Yeah.
Lacrosse and football through high school. And then, I had a decent high school career. I was looking at going to UMass, Towson State, and some other D1 programs. CW Post was D1 back then. But I had decided to go to Springfield College. I really wanted to be a phys ed teacher, and I thought that I fit in good to get a lot of playing time at D3. So I went to Springfield College, where I had a great career at Springfield. And while this was happening, kind of in the background, my dad was coaching club lacrosse up in Boston. This is before there was really any professional lacrosse at the time. This was like 1986, and the MILL started, and my dad became the first head coach of the Boston Blazers. So while I was in college, my junior and senior year, the Blazers started. So I started watching a lot of box lacrosse and falling in love with box lacrosse. And then as soon as I graduated from Springfield, I tried out for the Blazers and made the Blazers and started my pro career.
Oh, nice. And now to talk about a little bit how you transferred from the playing like as a kid and then college, and then what was the difference that you had to make in your game to get to that pro level? I mean, like some of the young players out there that might be joining the Arena Lacrosse League. Yeah, talk about that.
It's funny how I think what happened, how I got really good at lacrosse, and you hear this all the time, it was wall ball. And I moved to a new town when I moved into Connecticut School District. I moved from Mineola out to Suffolk to a town called Oakdale. And the first month, I really didn't have that many friends. So I had a driveway that had a brick wall on either side. And pretty much all my spare time, I was out there with my stick playing catch. And then when spring came around, I had so many reps on the wall that I was one of the better players on the team, and had the good stick skills. And then really, I just fell in love with the game. It was never work for me to get out there and practice. It was always just kind of a passion of love, and I just love to do it. I've had friends, and then eventually, made friends in the neighborhood, and we were all into lacrosse. We would play in the backyard. We had goals, shooting tennis balls at each other, playing net with no equipment, and beating the heck out of the foundation of our house with the lacrosse ball in the backyard and knocking shingles out and just playing the game as much as I can. And then, playing when back in the day, there really wasn't a lot of lacrosse other than school lacrosse. And then you had your summer camps. There wasn't no kind of summer programs or anything like there is today. So it was really just a lot of street ball. A lot of us guys just fooling around and playing, having the stick in our hands every day. And we all loved it, had a lot of fun with it. And, eventually by the time I got into college, I hooked up with some guys and started playing on Long Island at Caniac Park. Now, Caniac Park on Long Island is some of the toughest lacrosse there is. I've played pro lacrosse, for 11 seasons, and playing at Caniac Park against all the Long Island guys was some of the most intense and best lacrosse I ever played on bad fields with dirt and rocks and dust. And played in the 8 o'clock league against all D1 players. Fights were abundant, and it was an intense play. A lot of competition on Long Island, and a lot of egos out there. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and that really helped me become the player I eventually I was in my heyday.
Yeah. Well, no, that's awesome, and it's really good for all the young and old viewers right now watching to know these kind of stories and how people became professional lacrosse players. And it's really good insight to find out what people can do to change their game or work hard, just getting better at their game to be able to play at that level. Yeah. Now, with the Arena Lacrosse League specifically, why don't you talk a little bit about your role and then what your plans are going forward with the Arena Lacrosse League?
Yeah, so my role for the league is kind of twofold. I'm recruiting, so I'm recruiting campers to and trying to get as many kids at the camps that we can get. One thing that's important anytime you have a camp is you want to have good numbers. It's important that I get the word out. I'm getting the word out to a lot of coaches, a lot of players. I'll be at a lot of events, all the tournaments this summer that I can be at. I'll be there handing out flyers, offering discounts to our camps, and really just trying to recruit. I mean, I've been involved with box lacrosse now for a long time, and I've when I worked for the Blazers, and this is the second coming of the Blazers. When we came back, originally the Blazers were orange and green. And when we came back the second time, we were red and black. And so the red and black Blazers, I was an assistant coach with that team. Part of my job was to run Blazers Academy. And Blazers Academy was box lacrosse clinics and leagues. And I was always out trying to grow the box game and show people and tell people how important it is to make them better players. And I was a little bit ahead of our time as far as people in the general lacrosse public realizing how important lacrosse can be to increasing your skills and effectiveness on the field. But I think everyone who's following lacrosse nowadays, realizes is that the best players that are playing the game today have box lacrosse experience, and the skills and the things and the knowledge that you learn in the box game, transition really well into the field game. And you can see from the World Championships, when we lost to Canada, to the Thompsons, to the guys in the Pro League now, to all the college players. I mean, Denver's team this year was loaded with Canadian players, and Limestone down in South Carolina is loaded with Canadian players, and we're just seeing all these Canadian players kind of, I feel like, pass by a lot of the skills that the Americans is showing at these higher levels. And this is the opportunity for American players to get in the box, get real coaching. Just getting in the box and playing and not having the right coaching and not having the right things taught is good. You get a lot of reps, but when you're doing the correct things that are taught in box by good coaches, with a syllabus and and really following the correct steps to grow a player's skills, teaching them the pick and roll game, teaching them, the transition game, and, the in-tight shooting, correct shooting techniques. Really turn an average player into a great player, and a great player into a world dominating type player.
Yeah, well, very well put, and that's definitely true. Wall ball is key to anybody getting better, and then also box lacrosse is much different than field lacrosse in the sense that, like, I was talking to Graham Bergsma the other day, who's your co-worker with the Arena Lacrosse League, about how you can't just play like you would in field lacrosse and box, because you got the boards there, you got the small goals, the goalie's wearing big pads. So if you rip a shot, and also it's on a hard floor, so it's going to bounce everywhere. I mean, you can't waste opportunities. You got to look for ways to get open, do some fakes. You really have to. It's more methodical, I feel like.
Well, I mean, you're right. I think a big part of it is you can't play box lacrosse by yourself. In other words, you need to work with your teammates. It's the cross-checking on defense makes it really hard to dodge, and you can't dodge down the alley because you'll have no angle. So you have to rely on your teammates, and you have to use pick and roll games. You have to move the ball. You have to cut the middle hard. You have to look for give and goes. So one thing that I see, in players that take up box in the beginning is they try to go one-on-one a lot. And, a straight up one-on-one in box is really not going to work unless it's off of some motion, where you're working with your teammates. They're creating space for you. So it really helps in the sense that you learn offensive concepts. Another thing I preach is for kids to play basketball, because basketball is the same type of way. You really learn good offensive concepts. When to move, to pass and move. Always keep your feet moving. Always keep your head up. Always be in a position to receive the ball, looking for space. So there's a lot of little lessons in box lacrosse that you learn that make you a better at team sports. So better at basketball, better at field lacrosse. You'll see with Denver, this year in college lacrosse, they just move the ball so well. They work really well off ball. And this is just the offensive side of the field. It's the same type of things on defense. Learning how to communicate and play with a partner on a pick and roll on defense. And your off ball slides on defense, because often a pick and roll, a two-man pick and roll is almost impossible to defend if it's run well. So the opposite side guys need to be ready to slide. So you have good team defense, good team offense. And again, that just translates into making better, smarter lacrosse players for field lacrosse.
Yeah, and now we've got a question from a viewer. The Canadian University Field Lacrosse Association says, Randy, the ALL is an American-based league. Will Canadian players be welcome?
That's a good question. I think there will be some Canadian players that'll be welcome. I mean, I think that long term, depending on how this league grows, at some point, I'm sure there'll be more Canadian players involved. Now, the focus of the league is really to give Americans the opportunity to play. So I think that, especially this summer and trying to keep travel costs down, we're going to see more American players. But I'm sure, I'm 100% sure. I mean, the guys that started this league and the showcase tour and the camps, they're Canadian guys, and they have relationships with Canadian players. So I'm 100% sure that you're going to see some Canadians out there playing the game.
Yeah, and now talk a little bit about the difference. So like professional field lacrosse in America is about 15 years old or whatever, and now box lacrosse, it's been around a little bit longer. The professional NLL, but it seems like there's less opportunities for American players to crack a roster on some of these professional box lacrosse teams.
Yeah.
What do you think it is? Like, what is it that American players need to learn to be able to crack those rosters? And I know you guys are going to try to teach these guys these things.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, we need American players to commit themselves to the box game and to learning the game. It doesn't happen overnight. when I started in the league back when it was called the Major Indoor Lacrosse League, there was, you know, the Boston Blazers. Well, our whole team was made up of Americans. They didn't want to travel a lot of guys in. There were actually rules in place that limited the number of Canadians. So we were allowed to have 3 Canadians on our team. So we had 3 Canadians on our team. The Buffalo Bandits, who were closer to Canada, they were allowed to have 11 Canadian players on the team. So that kind of limited the number of Canadian players that were allowed into the league. But once that went away and the league started to grow and there was some more resources, more money available to travel players, we, of course, saw an influx of Canadian players. These teams want to win. And the Canadian players, quite honestly, were better players. I mean, they've been playing box their whole life. They play a 6 summer league. I mean, the summer leagues in Canada are, you know, again, like the roughest, most intense leagues in the world. It's another reason why, you know, American college players don't quite progress as well as Canadian players. These Canadian players are playing major series lacrosse all summer. They play 30-game schedules against men in the most intense, hot arenas, you know, super competitive, highly driven coaches. Probably when they play NCAA lacrosse, in all honesty, it's probably easier than what they do in the summer. Whereas in opposition, American college players play in summer league and maybe a couple tournaments, maybe a couple big tournaments. If they play in Vail or they play in Ocean City or Placid, they're playing some good, intense lacrosse. But generally, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this, and we've all heard this, and maybe some of us have said it. When someone's playing really intense in a summer league game and they slash you or they're playing too hard, you say, hey, bro, you know, what are you doing? This is summer league. Take it easy. You know, I'm not out here to kill anybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what the Canadians play like in the summer. They play hard lacrosse with a ton of pride and passion. And those formidable years of growth, you know, by the time these guys are 22 years old and they're seniors in college, they are just killers. They're just dominating the game. And, you know, American players will get better, you know, in their summers, but they're not progressing as much as, you know, obviously, as we see, you know, in college lacrosse, it's evident than the Canadian players.
Yeah. And now, definitely, I think that you're right about that in these tournaments that we play in, the Hawaii one, like you said, Placid, Vail. You got these big tournaments all over, and you know, me personally, I go for the big hits sometimes, and there's been a case in Vegas where I weighed a guy out that was much bigger than me, and I was like, you know, proud of myself that I knocked this guy down. He got up and tried to fight me, and then there was several people that said, you know, hey, this is not professional right now. You know, you need to, you know, not go out and lay a guy out. I'm like, but this is the game. You know, there wasn't like a penalty on it.
Right,
but,
right.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, there's no rule in these tournaments that say you can't play as hard as you're allowed to. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, I'm 47 and I still compete with all the young guys and play in all these tournaments. And to me, when I go out and play, I mean, I'm playing hard, and I hear it sometimes from guys, and I'm like, you know, I'll say I'm sorry, you know, but you know, when we take the field and we're playing a competitive game, I mean, as long as I'm not fouling you or cheap shotting you, you know, if I'm going hard after a ground ball or if I take the body on a play, I mean, it's fair game. Like, what are we doing out here? When, you know, we're out here playing lacrosse. Like, this is what it's all about. If you don't want to compete hard, you know, just stay home.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
We've got another question from Continental Indoor Lacrosse League. They said, what are the prospective cities? The CILL have a few solid markets. So I think he's asking, like, what are like some of the cities you're looking at?
So East Coast, and I'm going to be personally at all the East Coast stops. So we're going to be in Reading, Pennsylvania, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Maryland, Albany, New York, and what am I missing? I'm missing one. No, that's it.
Yeah, and if he did miss one, just make sure you guys check out the Arena Lacrosse League on Facebook or Twitter, or go to their website, and you guys can find out all the info on there. So just in case you missed any, don't worry, you'll be able to find it out.
I did. I missed Trenton, New
Okay.
Jersey. Trenton, New Jersey. That's our all of our East Coast stops. And then our West Coast stops were Portland, Utah, Salt Lake City in Utah. We're in Everett. I don't know all of those offhand, but if you check the website, but they're really northwest. Salt Lake City thrown in there. I think there's a California stop. Yeah, there's definitely a California stop. And so we're going to be. We're kind of on the edges. There's not much in the center of the country, and I think that's where the Continental League really thrives. Is in the center of the country.
Yeah. And so now, yeah, thank you everybody for that's tuning in right now. You guys are watching Ministry of Lacrosse on YouTube, and we are partnered with Militia Network. And right now, you guys are hearing about the Arena Lacrosse League, the ALL or the All. We've already interviewed Graham Bergsma, Paul St. John, Lance Wynn. We're going to get Chris Panos on soon. So, Randy, why don't you talk a little bit about the people that you're working with, the people that I just named for the Arena Lacrosse League?
Yeah, a lot of these guys, I just really have only known for about a month. The Canadian group, I've only really known them for a month. And Chris Panos, me and Chris go way back, and we're both Long Island guys. And Chris was actually drafted by the Blazers when he started his pro career. I met Chris at a tournament on Long Island, and he kind of sought me out and talked to me a little bit about his desire to play box lacrosse and get involved. And then I went and watched him play, and he's a real savvy, tough attackman. He finishes, shot a couple behind his back. He seemed like he had really good skills. Most importantly, he had the passion, and I could see that he had the passion to play the game and learn the game. So again, like being the coach's son, I had my coach's my coach's ear over dinner. Talked to him about Chris, and we ended up drafting him number 1. He was the 4th pick of the draft, and unfortunately, he only got to play 1 year with the Blazers because the Blazers folded it after that first season that he played, and then he went on to have an outstanding career playing down in Baltimore, and then out in Chicago, and I think he was in Philly. He won a championship in Philly, and then Chris is a great ambassador for the sport. There's not many American players who have won Man Cup championships, and I think Chris has freaking 5 of them. So he's I'm really excited to work with Chris. Chris has done a lot for box lacrosse out on the West Coast. He had his own company out there, and he had his own league. And now he's down at the University of Tampa, so he's in the NCAA, where he's passing on all that knowledge to the college players in that program. So I'm really excited to be working with Chris. Me and Chris together, along with the rest of our group, we'll be working, coaching all the kids, and we have the syllabus, and so we'll be on the floor passing along our knowledge, as well as all the knowledge from all of our Canadian coaches and leadership that we have. As far as the Canadian guys, and some of the names you mentioned, I played a lot of my career in Boston, and when the Blazers folded, I played for the New York Saints for 1 season, and then I went out and I played for the Buffalo Bandits for 3 seasons. I actually took 2 years off. I blew my knee out. I was a forward my first 9 years of my career, first 8 years of my career, and I blew my knee out at Team USA tryout, taking a face-off, and then I took 2 years off from that level of competitive lacrosse to get my knee right, and then I came back and played for the Bandits, and I came back as a face-off specialist and defender. So I completely switched roles. No longer was I one of the leading scorers on the team. I took a role on the team, and I thank God that I had that experience, because I got to have Canadian players as teammates. I played under Darius Kilgore, who was a really knowledgeable guy, and a great box lacrosse. And talk about passion. I mean, Darius is one of the most passionate guys you'll ever meet. I got to play for Coach Sanderson, and got to play with John Tavares. Troy Cordingley was an assistant coach, and Steve Dietrich, and those guys really taught me a lot about just being a good teammate, and having the passion and kind of desire to do well as a team. And the Canadian, just the way they're brought up, they're real selfless people. They really do everything for the team. And one thing that I noticed, about our group at Arena Lacrosse is it's the same thing is just deep inside all these guys. Everyone is just willing to do whatever it takes to be successful for the greater good. So, I'm just really excited to be a part of the group and working with some great Canadian guys and American guys and bringing that feeling and that passion down to American lacrosse.
Yeah, and once again, thanks to the Continental Indoor Lacrosse League for tuning in. They mentioned that they have teams in Chicago, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Lansing, Pittsburgh, among others. You guys are doing a great job out there, and thank you to Scott Ludwig, who actually works with you as well, for tuning in. It's my pleasure to host these live shows with all the AOL staff. And so, Randy, my next question to you would be is professional lacrosse in general, whether it's field or box, still has a ways to go to where like a professional lacrosse player can make a living on that one job instead of where he has to coach or work another job. There are some players that are like Paul Rabel and stuff that's been able to make a living out of this, and some others, but for the most part, you have to work more than one job. What do you think is the next step to getting professional lacrosse to be more of like where you can make a living out of it?
Well, I think for lacrosse popularity in general, it needs to be the urban areas. One thing. I worked for and coached with the New York Titans in New York City. And you get in the city, and no one from the urban areas, they barely even know what a lacrosse stick is, and they're not exposed to it enough. The sport has been really, and we all kind of love this about our sport. It's a small sport. It's a niche community. Usually, like everybody in it.
Yeah.
It's a tight knit group, and that's limiting us. What needs to happen is we need to spread the love of the game, and we need to spread the game and participation of the game to these inner city and urban areas. There's some great programs out there. Metro Lacrosse here in Boston is a program like that. City Lax in New York City is another program like that. I mean, that's where the masses are, and with the masses come dollars and exposure and sponsorship, and that's where I see lacrosse needing to go, is into those highly populated urban areas and get some different types of people, diversify our sport, and then it'll grow. We need to get the masses. It's a great game. I mean, we all know it. I mean, it's a team game. It's a high scoring game. It's the stick and ball. It's a lot of action. I mean, there's other sports out there that are more popular than lacrosse. And to me, either watching it or playing it, lacrosse is as good, or if not better, a game than these other sports that are more popular. So I think we just need to turn more people onto it. I think it's happening slowly over time, and we just need to, hopefully in our lifetime, we see, pro lacrosse being something that's, big, and where players can make, a good living at it. And, that's what I think. I think that's what it's going to take, those urban areas. I hope it would be unbelievable to have a team in LA, and have, but, there's not going to be a team in LA until we have LA schools and LA kids playing lacrosse and having some interest in it. I'm not really tuned into the scene out there, but, I'm sure there are people working on it, and it's just a matter of continuing to grow it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's an article on laxmagazine.com that was put out the other day. It was a growing concern for lacrosse, and one of the things that they were saying in the article was that nowadays, since kids are starting so young at playing lacrosse, that by the time they get to middle school, they're so good. So like a new player in middle school is less likely to feel comfortable enough. I wonder if there's a way, like to be able to teach those players how to play in a situation where they're not feeling like they're the worst player on the team. I know when I started, it was the first time lacrosse was ever brought out here, so we were all on an equal playing field. But I think nowadays all these elite teams are a little bit scaring away the new player.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think that a lot of the programs seem to have different levels of teams now. So, you have the A team, the B team, and the teams that kind of go down the line. And then when those teams go and play in tournaments, they play in the kind of the correct level of tournament for themselves, and and they have a good experience. I mean, I think that you see it in tournaments. Teams do get blown out, and that team that gets blown out by one team may blow out another team. So you do see that kind of, you do see that. And I think, but, I think that's probably, part of the growing pains in the game. And like myself, it doesn't take long to get good at it. If you're passionate about it and you love it, and you find a wall and you find some friends, and the next thing a couple weeks of playing hard lacrosse, suddenly you can catch and throw really good, and then you have some good coaching, and it can grow, pretty quickly.
Yeah, and now talk a little bit about the differences in the padding that box lacrosse players wear when we wear the hockey jersey. It's not a hockey jersey, box lacrosse jersey, but it's the same type of deal. And then go into detail about some like the hard shell.
It pretty much is a hockey jersey. I mean, and the whole idea of the jersey is the length of the sleeve, because you want to have a kind of a longer sleeve. I mean, the gloves are the same. You're not wearing arm pads. You're not wearing small, elbow pad. You're wearing an attackman style arm guard, so you don't want to have a huge gap, between your glove and your arm pad, which will be exposed, so you want to have that be tight. Some players will wear, padding in the gap. The pro players will wear padding in the gap. And then the biggest difference really is your bicep pad. So it's almost like a football thigh pad. But it's lighter, and it's a plastic material, hard material, so that you can absorb cross checks. Because cross checking is legal in box, and when you drive hard to the net or you're setting picks, so defenders even need them too, because when guys come in and set hard cross check picks, you're gonna get hammered up in this area. And I think as field players, we've all been cross checked across the top of the arm, and that's not that great. And then the second biggest part is your kidney pads or your rib protection. And again, like I run the Boston Box Lacrosse League, and guys ask me all the time, my field rib guards okay? Do I need rib guards at all? And I'm like, yeah, you definitely want to wear rib guards. And the guys that try to play the first night, by the second week, they have them. But the traditional field style are more of a foam material, so they really don't deflect cross checks very well. They kind of absorb them. They're good for slashes, but not necessarily cross checks. And they really won't have much protection down the center of your back. So the kidney pads, give you a hard shell outside with foam on the inside. It's kind of like a vest or straps. And then, that'll protect you from cross checks and slashes as well. Field helmet's fine. The only thing about the field helmet, it's got the visor, so it limits your visibility a little bit. I love my box helmet. It's a little bit lighter. The vision is definitely better. I don't wear it for field just because what I found is referees tend to really watch the guys with box helmets because they think we're hacks. Yeah. And you get more penalties when you wear your box helmet. Or if guys you're playing against see you as a target, and they'll maybe play harder on with the box helmet. So I really don't. I try to wear my field helmet when I play field and my box helmet when I play box. And then, that's pretty much it. Everything else is pretty, well, that's all the equipment you really wear. And you probably, definitely want to wear a cup because, the shots are, the goal is lower, it's 4 feet high. So more shots are coming in low. There's just more general hitting inside and cross checking. So, you could easily get hit, and that cup is important.
Yeah. And now everybody that's maybe interested in playing box goalie, talked to them a little bit about some of the differences of playing style, because they're kind of have to hunch down a little bit. They're holding the stick different. And talk about the padding there.
Well, I mean, the general body positioning is completely different. You're more in a position like a goalie, a hockey goalie would be. It's you're down low. The goal is only 4 feet high, so you're not going to stand up. You're going to get low. You're going to hold the stick between your legs like a hockey goalie would hold his stick. And the padding is it's similar to a hockey goalie. The shin pads are a lot different than a hockey goalie. You don't have those big giant shin pads. They're still pretty big, hard plastic. And then you have pretty much hockey pants. And then the uppers, when I first started my youth leagues, I was using hockey uppers. The hockey uppers are fine for protection, but they don't give you a lot of bulk up in the shoulder area where a lot of the shots are. So the goalie uppers that are made specifically for box lacrosse have more mass in the shoulder area, so that you can stop the shots to the upper corners. Gloves wise, you definitely don't want to wear field lacrosse gloves when you're playing box goalie,
Yeah.
because you tend to get hit in the hands a lot. You don't wear a glove like you would in hockey, but you do use that offhand, or we call it the paw, and slap shots away on that glove side. Helmet wise, it's pretty much, guys, you can wear a field helmet. You definitely need to have a throat protector, and when you get higher levels, you often see the hockey style face mask, painted up. You see them in the pros. The guys have all the customized helmets, and then finally, the cup is a big giant cup, kind of like a hockey cup, because the goalies get hit down there all the time, just with the bounce shots and guys shooting for that 5-hole, so it's really important that, if you're going to play box lacrosse, that you have the right equipment and you play the right way. I see a lot of guys trying to play stand-up goalie in the box, and I try to, it's not really fair to the kid that you throw in the net, because he's going to get hurt, he's going to get shelled, he's going to end up being afraid of the ball. There's so many shots, they come in fast, and it's hard to read the shots. So you really want to, if you're out there coaching box or playing box, you want to make sure your goalie is well protected and safe. And when you do have the right equipment, it's a blast to play goal, because you really don't get hurt. The padding is great. I've put on the pads tons of times, and even against the Blazers, when I was coaching with the Blazers against the pros, and I've gotten buzzed by Dan Dawson's shot, and it's like nothing. It doesn't really hurt. And so it's a really fun thing to do. And I think in hockey too, guys, everyone loves to play goalie every once in a while.
Yeah.
Field lacrosse is a little different, not everyone's willing to jump in and play field lacrosse goalie, because you're gonna get whiffled with a few in the unprotected spots.
Yeah. No, I actually played box goalie for a season, and mainly I was just like fearless to play it, because there's you're not going to get hurt, and I didn't get hurt, and so that was fun. And field goalie I would never play. I mean, I've done it for like the little kids that I've coached before, like middle school.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, geez, goalies have like a different mindset. You have to be kind of a little bit crazy to play goalie. I mean,
you do. You have to be totally into it, totally committed to it, and those guys don't seem to get hurt as much when you're committed to it. It's always like, I've been in there with the youth kids, and they shoot, and you kind of sidestep it, and throw your stick out, and you end up getting drilled someplace.
Yeah.
Whereas, the best players in the world, they step into the ball. They're protecting themselves. They have good hands, and they actually keep the ball off their body a lot. The only place see these guys they get slaughtered is down in their shins and legs. Doc Doherty, one of the best goalies a lot of guys have probably heard of. He's always worn that one shin pad, because he's gotten hit there so many times.
Yeah. Now talk to me a little bit about what is the upcoming what is like the most recent thing that's going to happen for the Arena Lacrosse League? Not recent, but upcoming, that you want to promote and hype up, and how can people find out about it and sign up for the Arena Lacrosse League?
Yeah, so I'm out trying to get to as many youth tournaments as I can on the East Coast, and we have a couple other groups of kind of touring people. We'll be out there in the vendor tent, with our tent, just cranking out the message to people. We're going to be raffling off free camps tuitions at all of our stops. We're going to be offering great prices on game tickets. So what's unique about Arena Lacrosse is, you have the whole camp element for the youth, but there's also a camp and a training element for older players, and then we have the pro game that kind of wraps up the whole weekend. So the campers, the youth, they're going to come in for 2.5 days of intense training, and then they start a tournament. So it's a combination of teaching and learning and drills, and then they jump into a tournament and play a 4-game tournament, which is really cool to me. Then you get to kind of put your skills to the test in a competitive kind of team environment. And then while this is all going on, the elite players, and most of them are going to be American college players, will be competing and coaching. So they'll be coaching the kids during the day. They'll have their own practices every day, and then all building to the premier game, which will happen Saturday night, which will be a charge admission, and it's kind of starting of a pro league. It's not really a pro league yet, but it's a premier league. And then, you know, those guys will get to play. And at our events this summer, we're going to be selling discount tickets to those games as well. So if you notice, we're also, all of these camps and all this stuff is happening at major arenas. So, you know, like we're at the Santander Center. So we're at these major venues, the professional venues where the kids will get to play. All the training will happen in that venue, and it all builds to that final game in that venue. And it should be really exciting for everybody. And so we'll be offering all the products that we offer. We'll be offering at all our events at a discount. And because, you know, we figure if we're there in person, we want to get people to jump on board with us. We want to give them a motivation to jump on board with us while they're there. So we're going to offer them sick deals, and then hopefully, you know, we'll be able to build a good following and have some success.
Yeah, and everybody, make sure you guys check out the Lehigh Lax Fest this weekend, and you can find out anything you want about the AOL there. Thanks to Scott Ludwig for chiming in with that. And let's finish up with some advice for any players that are thinking about playing in the Arena Lacrosse League, or that want to play, get better at the game of lacrosse.
Well, I mean, you know, the advice it's got to be, you know, you got to work at it like anything. You know, if you're going to be good at anything, you got to work at it. And you know, if it's work for you, you know, maybe lacrosse isn't for you. You know, one thing, you know, you have to find something in your life that you're passionate about, and when you're working, you're not dreading it. You know, one thing about my entire time on the wall is I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm enjoying that work. Yeah, I dread the treadmill, you know, and I dread, you know, some of the workouts that are tough. But as far as lacrosse and working out and with a lacrosse stick in my hand, there's nothing I'd rather be doing. So if that's you and that's something you enjoy, you know, continue to do it. You know, just make sure you're studying and you're doing the other parts of your life that are important. But you know, let your lacrosse, enjoy it and work hard at it. You know, secondly, watch lacrosse. I think you've heard this from other people before. Watch as much as lacrosse as you can. I mean, there's tons of online now. You know, you can watch so much lacrosse, it's unbelievable. You'd laugh. I want to show you my office before we part, because I have some cool stuff in my office. But one thing I had was an incredible collection of VHS. You know, I had tapes. Whenever there was lacrosse on TV, I would tape it, and I just saved all those tapes. And even now, when I go and work out down in my basement and get on the treadmill, I'll throw on one of those old tapes, and it'll still get me fired up. And and I learn, you know, I've learned from watching other guys. You know, you have to be observant and not just a fan of the game, but you have to observe what these other players are doing, what these great players are doing, and then try to incorporate it into your game, you know. And maybe the first place you incorporate it's in the backyard with your friends with the tennis ball. You know, learn around the world, learn behind the back. I mean, we all can watch the Thompsons and learn, you know, the shovel and the one-handed stuff those guys are doing. I mean, you know, that's great learning to watch that stuff. Defensive players, you know, look at the stick checks, look at the positioning, watch the slides, try to understand the game. Some great advice I had from my dad when I was young, and I don't really know when it clicked in. He said, at some point, you're just going to look at the defense and you're going to look at the situation, and the correct play is just going to happen for you. Whereas I'm reading the play at a higher level, and that just came through experience. You know, a lot of young players that I work with now, they want to know, all right, coach, you know, what do I do? They want to go from point A to point B. When the ball moves to this position, cut, and it's very regimented. And you can see this in college lacrosse too. I see it in some programs where the players are very regimented in what they do, and they really don't understand the concepts of getting open and team play. and how to work when your teammate cuts and there's space open, how to get to that space. And those are the type of things that you just need to play a lot, watch a lot of tape, and study it. Don't be a fan, be a student when you're watching these great players play. So, those two things, I mean, practice and observe would be my biggest advice.
Yeah, well, check out this. This was the show. It was 2005 New Balance Championship Weekend, Major League Lacrosse. I got like one other DVD, like Best of College Lacrosse 2006 or something. But yeah, so
Nice.
but yeah, I like your pictures in the back. You got a lot of lacrosse stuff back there. That's cool.
See my DVD collection. This is oh, actually, it's not that full, but there are just tons of DVDs in here.
Oh, nice.
These are all stuff I've taped. These are mostly Blazers games.
Yeah.
But now I stream. So I mean, there's so many great websites. If you want to stream box lacrosse, there's a ton of box lacrosse. You can check out the WLA, major series lacrosse, of course the NLL, and then if you have to have ESPN3 and stream all the great stuff that's on ESPN, and then it's all on there, so you can go back and look at it at any time. Oh, so all right, so my office is, I'm actually still in process. We switched the master bedroom and my office, so we flipped. So I'm kind of still in the process of putting it together, but this is my kind of black and white wall back here.
Nice.
And what you can see there that's really cool is that middle big picture. And what that is that's the Pro League from the 70s, the Boston Bolts. And that's in the Boston Garden that's now torn down. And they're and that's a wooden parquet floor that they're playing on. And yeah, I have some other shots in there, a picture of my dad and my grandfather playing softball, my Springfield College picture, a couple other cool black and whites. But I want to show you this wall, so my Blazers wall.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll be able to see my Wally. Oh, there you can see him. So
wow.
My Dan Dawson Wally. So I got to coach Dan when he was with the Blazers, and we did these Wallies, which are really cool. Above that, you see that big picture, and that's opening night of when the Blazers came back in the new Boston Garden. And we got the whole team there. Sean Morris is up there, and head coach Tom Ryan's in there, and all the guys. You can also see that I have another Wally under my dartboard that's really cool, and that's one of the biggest wins we had that first year was we beat the New York Titans with like a last-second goal, and that was a celebration after the goal. And you can see Jay Thornbert, who plays for the Bandits now, and John Harnett's in there.
Nice.
Guys that are still playing in the league. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I got the big screen TV. I have this whole massive amount of pictures that I have to get up. I haven't gotten them up yet.
Yeah.
But
that's cool, man.
It reminded me too. So I recently have gotten into hockey.
Oh yeah.
So, for me as an athlete, improving at something and working on something is really important. So I totally from scratch. I've never played hockey before. I've been playing for about 4 months now, and really enjoying learning something new and working on new skills. And again, the Canadians turned me on to that too. So I just work on my skating, and it's crazy how, no matter how old you get, you always wanted to set new goals and learn new things. So
yeah,
it's been a lot of fun, and working with Arena Lacrosse kind of lets me live out my dream and pass on all my passion for box lacrosse and lacrosse in general, and then keeps me active and keeps me moving. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you very much for being on the show again, and I definitely will have you on more in the future. I plan on having Chris Panos on again. He's been on my show before, but that was before he was involved with the AOL. But yeah, you guys are doing a great job, and I look forward to maybe doing some marketing or getting involved somehow with media for it.
Yeah, if you want to check out the website, it's arenalacrosseleague.com. All the tour information is on there. You can check it out. Also, if you want to check out my league, it's bostonboxlacrosse.com. Awesome league here in Boston that I run. We got like 100 guys that just kill each other every week. It's everyone's favorite night of the week. And then the other thing I'm involved with is I'm the head coach for the U19 USA team, and we're competing in the World Championships in September.
Nice.
So that website is usindoorlacrosse.com. You can keep up with the team and what we're doing there. So a lot going on, a lot of cool stuff, and I look forward to doing something with you again, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'll definitely probably be playing against you again in some tournament. I know we played in Vegas.
Yeah.
I was on the Salt Fakers, and yeah, so definitely look forward to doing that. And everybody, yeah. Oh yeah, and everybody that's tuning in, make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ministry of Lacrosse. Make sure you guys check out arenalacrosseleague.com. And thank you guys to everyone that's been chatting and tuning in. And without further ado, I'm Jonny Vegas, reminding you to grow your game. And remember, to grow, you got to play. Happy lacrossing, everybody. Until next time.